Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Denise Gary Show. I'm just honored today to have a former Marine Corps NCO, Lloyd Goodnow, on the Denise Gary Show. Lloyd, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me this evening or afternoon there.
You're so welcome. Well, it's 5 o'clock. This show airs at 5 o'clock every day. We consider that late afternoon, but not to worry, no problem. We're just glad you're on the broadcast. I wanted to talk to you today, sir, about the Uniform Code of Military Justice. I'm deeply concerned about the fact that something that the media is not talking about, and that is how we treat individuals that are deserters from the United States military, people that are really bottom line enemy combatants. And I'm talking about Bo Bergdahl. I was reading an article about the fact that Bo Bergdahl has pled guilty, and yet it sounds like, based on what I read, that Bo Bergdahl will be dishonorably discharged. But apart from that, it sounds like he's still going to get military pay and not going to spend a day in prison. I wanted to speak to you about Article 85 of desertion in the United States Uniform Code of Military Justice. It says here in A1 that if you go without authority or you may remain absent from your unit or place of duty with an intent to remain away permanently, or you quit your unit, or you actually leave your place of duty with an intent to avoid hazardous duty, or you are separated from one of the armed forces because of, you chose to do so, this is considered desertion. What do you know about Bo Bergdahl's case that I may be missing?
Well, there's a few things. Number one, according to the Military Standards Guideline and UCMJ, he left his position without notifying any chain of command. In this area, there's called an open door policy. Any commander has the open door policy. So this fella was saying that he was unhappy with his unit and he left, but in actuality, he didn't even have to follow the chain of command. He could have went to the commander, which is in place in an open door policy. He left his weapon behind, his night vision goggles behind, and that's again against the UCMJ. You cannot do that. And then also he left in the midst of a hostile zone in an enemy enriched territory. So there's more to the story than people are actually aware of.
Okay.
The reason, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you about him walking away from the unit. I recall reading that as well, that he walked away without his weapon or night goggles, knowing that the area was infested with the enemy, i.e. the Taliban. Why do you believe that he'd walk away from his unit without any weaponry? Do you believe his intent was to surrender to the enemy?
I don't know the exact answer to what that guy was thinking, but I do know that the risk of being injured without a weapon in a enemy-enriched hostile environment is very great. So in turn, in my opinion, there had to be more to the story, but I can't say anything without the factual information. What I can provide you with is factual information, hopefully in a few minutes, and tell you exactly why he was traded for 5 Taliban commanders.
I want to get to that.
Which they also resurfaced in the battlefield, and people are unaware of that. But the bigger point, in my opinion, that 6 men died. 6 soldiers died looking for this guy. And if anyone is listening here in the military, I would hope that they would pick up the phone and call the Army Inspector General. I think that would be a good avenue, and here's why. Just because of this individual leaving, It wasn't a casual thing. It probably was planned for other reasons, because we had such a high casualty rate for six servicemen to be killed going looking for him, and I have their names here, and they are to be honored, and they died not only in a combat zone, but in very nefarious situations.
They died in a combat zone looking for a guy,
right, who went AWOL.
Who went AWOL.
They went for a fellow soldier who basically left them without following the chain of command.
Let's go back to that. I want to ask you a question. So regarding the fact that U.S. military personnel put their lives in jeopardy looking for Bo Bergdahl, do you believe that, again, part of that is because he left no word saying that he was deserting his post? Because there have been comments made that he said something to a few of his fellow soldiers indicating that he might leave. So why would we risk American lives looking for Bo Bergdahl if there apparently was some conversation over the fact that he might walk away from his post? Are you aware of that, sir?
Maybe the individuals that were searching for him again, or to serve God and country and their duties, maybe they didn't know what he said, but the point is their lives do not exist now because of this one individual. And if I may expand in a moment,
please go ahead.
About this, the U.S. Government Accountability Office said Obama broke the law again by not giving Congress the 30 days advance notice he was supposed to before any such exchange took place. So there's another violation that no one wants to admit or look at. But if you were to look at the U.S. Government Accountability Office, that is their quote, not mine, that he broke the law and made a backdoor deal for these five Taliban commanders. So, whatever our president said, he's absolutely right, because this exchange was illegal. These six lives of American soldiers, tragically they died, but tragically they died in a situation that was not really necessary because of one individual. According to the UCMJ, I believe that he can still be charged for these crimes in the UCMJ. I would hope that the Inspector General of the Army would reopen this case. I have that number if any of the...
Please, would you give it to us? What's
sure,
the number?
It's
803.
885.
8131. Ladies and gentlemen, the Army Inspector General's telephone number is 803 885 8131. So help me on this, Lloyd Goodnow. We believe that it's important for the American people to call the Army Inspector General and request that the President of the United States be looked into on an issue of credibility, that he put in harm's way American soldiers who in fact were...
president, you mean that guy?
Yes, Obama.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's the guy.
That he be held accountable for putting into harm's way American servicemen that were trying to find somebody who was AWOL or a deserter. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. I mean, there should be an investigation there, and then also the UCMJ. If you look at 904 Article 104, aiding the enemy, any person who aids or attempts the enemy with arms, ammunition, supplies, money, or other things without proper authority, knowingly, willing, or harbors or protects or gives intelligence or communicates or corresponds or holds any intercourse with the enemy, either by dereliction or by directly or indirectly, shall suffer death or suffer punishment a court-martial or military commission may direct. So I just can't grasp why a law was broken, a backdoor deal was made to release these five Taliban commanders, which were resurfaced again, and sadly the UCMJ was not enforced, which it is enforceable now. So I would hope that every listener here that is a veteran, especially an Army veteran, would pick up the phone. I don't know if the congresspersons, if you picked up your phone and called those, would be as effective as calling the inspector general.
Okay.
Maybe senators, but these people who go in the military, we sign an oath to give our life for our country. And no politician does that. They don't sign an oath to give their life for the country. They sign an oath to say they'll uphold the Constitution to protect the American people, which we all know they're not doing their job. But the point is that I believe wholeheartedly the UCMJ should be enforced, and this guy should be charged and have the death penalty. This is my opinion.
Well, I wanted...
this is my opinion. That I'm not saying anything that isn't on the books. I just read it to you. This is what the UCMJ says.
Right.
How can we help these 6 families? What happened to them? They suffered a tragic loss unnecessarily. I feel instead of paying, our tax dollars going somewhere illegally, I feel that those individual families should be reimbursed. Not that that's a help, but for $1 million apiece. And these gentlemen here, these soldiers who are patriots, should have a special commendation for what they've done. For dying for basically a cause of someone else.
Right. And I'm right with you. It was a liberal Democrat that wanted to provide clemency or show mercy. His father, Bo Bergdahl's father, converted to Islam. Do you believe that part of the clemency or part of the reason why former Barack Hussein Obama wanted to not label Bo Bergdahl a deserter or having gone AWOL and aided and abetted the enemy by holding intercourse with the enemy, by communicating with the enemy, and for all we know, provided intelligence to the enemy? I understand he was caged and tortured, which is why they didn't want him to serve any prison time, which I found horrific. That Bo Bergdahl is not supposed to spend any time in prison in the years going forward because of his activities. You mentioned, sir, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to Lloyd Goodnow, former Marine Corps NCO. Lloyd, you mentioned John Ashcroft. Now, John Ashcroft, the former Attorney General, Republican conservative, suggested, did he not? What was his suggestion about? I'm thinking about Johnny Walker Lynn.
Johnny Walker.
Okay, let's finish up. Let's finish up with Bo Bergdahl then. So basically, what we want to see people do is we want to see the American people contact the Army Inspector General at 803-885-8131. And we want them to hold Bo Bergdahl, who deserted his unit, who deserted his post, from what it sounds like, based on emotion. He wasn't liking his unit. He wasn't liking, I guess, the men in his unit. So he wanted to walk off. It just sounds so extremely unprofessional. And I'm with you. I look at the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and it says here, sir, that if somebody deserts their post and is separated from their post, that the punishment can include death. And yet we don't see that happening. It says any person found guilty of desertion or an attempt to desert shall be punished, and if the offense is committed in time of war, punished by death or such other punishment as a court-martial may direct. I mean, it's pretty clear. The law is pretty clear, and yet we've got liberals giving him a pass. I'll let you have the last word on this topic.
Well, it's written. My statements are factual as far as what was said and who was said. Here are the facts, and we can let the American people decide on that. But here is the UCMJ, here are the facts, and here it simply states what the consequence is. The Inspector General, it says on their website right there,
Okay.
that they are. This is recommended for solutions for resolving requests and assistance from soldiers, family members, civilians,
Mm-hmm.
and the U.S. Army Central Community. So
Mm-hmm.
any civilian can call the U.S. Army IG's office also, because that's what it states on their website.
Okay.
How to file a complaint, and hopefully the UCMJ will be enforced in this matter.
I hope so. Let's talk about Johnny Walker Lynn. Johnny Walker Lynn was only given a 20-year sentence. He was an enemy combatant. He was supporting the Taliban. And I read a report that says he's completely unrepentant. It says, in fact, his prison poetry suggests that he remains. This is Johnny Walker Lynn, the American Taliban combatant, fighting with the Taliban in Afghanistan. He was captured, I believe, that first year during the war. And he is still dedicated to jihad. And history shows us, Lloyd, that jihadis, paroled jihadis, return to the battlefield and to jihad. While he was in prison, Johnny Walker Lynn was allowed to acquire Irish citizenship, and he now plans to move to Ireland now that he's been released from a U.S. prison. He's calling himself Abu Suleiman al-Irlandi, and the government of Ireland says he's welcome. Now, this is a situation where he was given a 20-year sentence. Why he was not shot, I do not know, other than I believe he was not part of the military. He was a civilian that left the United States of America to go fight with the Taliban. And so,
that's correct.
So, nevertheless, he is still an enemy and was an enemy combatant, and he is still dedicated to jihad. So why is it that the United States government is not treating him like an enemy combatant and releasing him from prison?
I don't have the answer to that, but I do know that Mr. Ashcroft,
former AG, former Attorney General, right under Bush.
That's right. That's correct. I should have identified that.
That's all right.
He pointed out those details to the Department of Justice, and he should have received at least 6 additional 10-year sentences plus 30 years. I have no idea why, and it ties back to my other matters, why the rule of law is not being enforced, why we have enemy combatants that are treated like a fellow who's got a DWI on his second offense. Here's what people don't understand, and I hope that everyone listening understands the depth of this. Our country, our American lives cannot be jeopardized by individuals who do tremendous harm and breach national security. People are so busy with their lives trying to stay alive and work and exist, but these individuals have committed these crimes, in my opinion, should be punished. And that's not up to me, of course. That's up to our judicial system that I hope would change very soon, that we can finally start enforcing the rule of law for all of the violations. And I'm sure if I dug deep enough, I could find U.S. codes about the civilian, which I was looking at those today for, being a spy and for acts against the America. So he's probably got a bunch more charges against him if anybody wanted to look and find the U.S. codes that would apply to Johnny Walker.
The Johnny Walker Lynn, it says he was released early from his 20-year sentence to having only served 17 years of his term. He was released for good behavior, Lloyd. I found that incredible. It says he left at the age of 17 to find himself in Yemen. And there in Yemen, he attended schools. We know that in Yemen, there are numerous terrorist training camps. Yemen is full of terrorist training camps. It was Yemen that was involved with or behind Yemenis terrorists involved in the USS Cole attack prior to 9/11. It was like the precursor of what was to happen. And it says here that apparently Johnny Walker Lynn, again, chose, this is a decision he made to train with Al-Qaeda. He chose to fight for Osama bin Laden. He chose to kill his fellow Americans. And civilian or not, it just makes common sense that any civilian that would be so treasonous as to kill their fellow Americans on the battlefield is an individual that should be put up against the wall and shot. Are you of the same mind, sir?
I'm sure there's a U.S. code that indicates that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done the research on that, but
okay.
I know that anyone who resides here
mm-hmm.
or goes against us is a combatant. They're not to be dealt with
mm-hmm.
open arms and, hey man, peace far out. What the deal's got to be is we've got to protect our nation because we are under attack, whether people realize that or not, on every aspect of the liberties and freedoms that we have. And these individuals who have committed, such acts against the United States should be treated accordingly. As far as the punishment goes, I would only suggest what the U.S. codes are for that. I've done a ton of research today on another matter, which we'll discuss hopefully on another show, that people are so unaware of the U.S. codes because they're not enforced.
Well, there are several U.S. codes regarding terrorism and a seditious conspiracy and things like inadmissible aliens and domestic terrorism activities, treason, etc. And I think that it's important, however, that the message be clear to the audience today that we need to let the president know, we need to let the Department of Justice know. As you pointed out, we need to let the Army Inspector General know that we do not want jihadists or Islamic terrorists treated as though they were common criminals and released after so many years in prison under our parole laws. We want them to be held accountable for their treasonous activities. And I think that's the message today.
I would agree.
And it's the message in light of another terrorist attack. I read every day of another terrorist attack.
If it's called a terrorist, if they don't show it, but it is a terrorist attack. A
terrorist attack. Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, the FBI has tended to describe terrorism as the random and indiscriminate killing of the innocent for a religious or political objective. So even when a terrorist kills a U.S. soldier, they're killing somebody for a religious and or political objective. And when Americans do that against fellow Americans, that's treason. And we need to hold the United States government accountable for this. President Trump is the only one running for office in 2020 that shares our view, Lloyd. And I think it's important that we make this clear on the show today, too, that the Democrats do not support this position. Indeed, they support Obama's position in showing leniency towards Bo Bergdahl and towards the likes of Johnny Walker Lynn. And that's deeply concerning. It's deeply concerning, especially in light of the fact that these jihadis return back to the battlefield. And even if they don't actually go into the thick of battle, think about this, Lloyd. Let me know what your thoughts are. If they're not going back in the battlefield, sometimes they go to the microphone. Sometimes they go to social media. And because these jihadis know that Johnny Walker Lynn and Bo Bergdahl and others have been arrested and released, and you talked about the Muslims that were released by former President Barack Hussein Obama, Muslim jihadists working to kill Americans, that Obama released these people so they could go back to their home country and kill more Americans. We know that if they get on social media, that they'll have star power. They'll have star power among jihadists around the world, and they'll be able to recruit more people for terrorists and call for more terrorist attacks against Americans. And their calls for terrorism will be heeded. Am I right about that?
I believe so. And when I have a moment to speak, I would just like to educate our audience on just 5 little items here.
Okay.
When I have the okay.
Go ahead.
if people were to look up 18 U.S. Code 1505, 18 U.S. Code 1509, 18 U.S. Code 1510, 18 U.S. Code 1511, 18 U.S. Code 1015. This is obstruction. These codes here, if the law was to be enforced by our president, who's trying to enforce the law that are on the books, because he is a patriot and he loves America.
Yes.
But these codes here that I gave you, so for anybody that is trying to block federal agencies of doing their job, for anybody blocking, on a criminal investigation, obstruction is what these are all about. Obstruction. So. Dealing with what we're dealing with, we're supposed to go to our leaders, our congressmen, our politicians, but I feel like they failed us tremendously, and that's why I gave the alternate to go to the IG. I just hope that the American people, are getting more vocal, and we're standing up for our rights and justice to be done, and all of us doing our part here in America, because America, all of us are stakeholders in this country.
That's right.
We're all stakeholders in America, which people don't understand. We all have a stake here, and it's up to us, to bring this stuff to light. It's obvious that there's so many tremendous faults that are going on that we need to really enforce the rule of law and get the country back to what it should be.
You're absolutely right, sir. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, former Marine Corps NCO Colonel Lloyd Goodnow.
I'm not a colonel.
Well, former. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Lloyd Goodnow, former Marine Corps NCO. Lloyd, thank you so much for coming on the Denice Gary Show.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to go to a commercial break. I want to talk about Frugati's restaurant, the best Italian restaurant ever. You need to check them out. They're fabulous, fabulous food. They even have a special health, fitness, diet portion on their menu. And the food, even in the health and fitness or diet section, is fabulous. I've tried all of it, and it's so, so good. Ralph Frugaletti is the owner, really himself involved in fact, an Olympic winner, really involved in sports and sports activities, and wants everybody to be fit and healthy, but makes the best Italian food ever. Go to Frugati's restaurant. They're on Coffee Road between Truxton and Stockdale. And Anatase products, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Anatase products. Would you play that commercial? And ladies and gentlemen, as we go to that commercial, please support the Denice Gary Show. We really need to hear from you. We're not paid by anyone. We depend on contributions and advertisers. That's what we depend on to stay alive and broadcasting to you 5 days a week. So please send your tax-deductible contribution to my 501c3, the Middle East Initiative. The Middle East Initiative, my 501c3, send it to Post Office Box 82162, Bakersfield, California 93380. P.O. Box 82162, Bakersfield, California 93380. Let's listen to the Anatase products commercial.
President Trump has correctly stated that economic security is national security. And in the Tehachapi Mountains of Kern County resides a United States defense contractor, Anatase Products. Here is the Silicon Valley of the aerospace industry, right here in East Kern. Anatase Products is a forward-leaning manufacturer and distributor of hardware sold to major defense and aerospace companies. We're talking about Boeing, Lockheed Martin, United Technologies, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon General Electric, and on the list goes, as well as to every United States ally worldwide, including Israel, America's most important strategic ally in the Middle East. And for everything that flies, Anatase Products is providing the parts. And with me today is the president of Anatase Products, Scott Baker. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
Scott, tell us why you believe this corner of Kern County is the hub of the aerospace industry.
Well, this portion of Southern California here out in the Antelope Valley, it contains, some of the most cutting edge technology going on in aviation today. We have some of the UCAS programs with unmanned technologies going on. We have Edwards Air Force Base out here who's doing continual testing in their area. We have the Naval Weapons Station up there at China Lake doing some fantastic cutting edge stuff, cruise missile technology, and those things are going on. We have Scale Composites locally doing a lot of composite technology, which is new. We have SpaceX, which is a private one, putting a private entity putting things into space now. This area is the growth center for aviation's future, and this is the area I think that as a nation we need to be concentrating some of our effort and taking this technology. And as we all know, with the space program from Apollo years ago, out of these technologies, we the private sector are going to reap some of the benefits of that.
Thank you, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Baker, president of Anatase Products. Anatase Products, located in the beautiful mountains of Tehachapi, California, in eastern Kern County, is home to some of the most innovative and specialized technologies in the world, including those at the U.S. Naval Air Warfare Center, Weapons Division at China Lake, Edwards Air Force Base, as well as Strata Launch, launching satellites capable of delivering multiple orbits in a single flight to space. And it is Anatase Products that has provided the manufactured devices, and the president, Scott Baker of Anatase Products, Marine Corps veteran, reactivated on 9/11 to monitor threats to the homeland, is carrying on a tradition of providing for the security of the United States by manufacturing every kind of fastener on anything that flies, as well as providing a full testing destructive laboratory. Contact Anatase Products, now in business for 30 years, at 661-822-6873. Located at 1314 Goodrich Drive in Tehachapi for your manufacturing and testing needs today.
Today's wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, it is incredible to me that Johnny Walker Lynn, a man that continues today, now that he's been released from prison, while he was in prison and after he's been released from prison, continues to advocate for Islamic terrorism. In fact, I thought it was incredible that he continues to translate violent extremist texts. This is according to his probation officers today. I don't know why the mainstream media, I haven't even heard this on Fox News, but it needs to be brought to the attention of the American people that his probation officers have even noted that Johnny Walker Lynn continues to advocate for global jihad. I thought it was interesting that a man by the name of Mike Spann, who had just interrogated Johnny Walker Lynn after he was captured in Afghanistan. They knew he was an American. And so a CIA operative, Mike Spann, was killed after he spoke to Johnny Walker Lynn. And his daughter wrote a letter to President Trump. And in the letter that Spann's daughter wrote, following the knowledge that Johnny Walker Lynn was being released before even serving his full 20-year sentence, said to the president, she wrote, his early release, Johnny Walker Lynn's early release, is a, quote, slap in the face, end quote, to everyone killed on 9/11 and in the war on terror since then, along with the, quote, millions of Muslims worldwide who do not support radical extremists. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's extremely clear that certainly Mike Spann's daughter, again, Mike Spann, was killed by the Taliban after interrogating and speaking with Johnny Walker Lynn. It is believed that his death was related to Johnny Walker Lynn's capture and that Spann paid the ultimate price. I think the daughter is ultimately correct in saying it's a slap in the face to her father and it's a slap in the face to those that were killed on 9/11. But I would go further than that. I would say it's a slap in the face to every soldier that's fought and died against Islamic terrorism, period. And there's millions of Muslims who do support terrorism, and they're out there and they're currently harassing and persecuting Christians, other Westerners, Jews, Hindus, etc. There are people persecuting other people because of the fact that they've chosen not to be a Muslim, but to be a non-Muslim Christian, Jew, Hindu, Sikh, etc. It's a problem. It needs to be corrected. And one way we can start correcting it right here in the United States of America is to hold people like Bo Bergdahl and Johnny Walker Lynn accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. This is the Denice Scary Show, and this is Denice signing off.